Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another episode with Ebenezer Talks. Listen, I am delighted to have one of my closest friends here with me. My mother loved this man to death. I'm grateful to have him as a friend, as a colleague, Reverend Dr. James Kellam from the New Mount Zion Baptist Church, Painter, Virginia. Dr. Kellam, thank you. Charles, thank you so much for coming, man.
Thank you.
Tell us, you are a native of the Eastern Shore, born and raised. We both went to St. Paul's, but he's a whole lot older than me, so he went to St. Paul's before I did. You came back to the Eastern Shore, and tell us about your, growing up, how things were, and how you moved through childhood and got off the East Shore, got to go to school. Tell us about it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
I can say you're my friend. And say again, your mother was very good to me. Very good to me.
She loved you, man.
I want to tell you that. She was very good to me. Giving me information. When my mother passed away, she told me, I'm going to be your mother from now on.
I believe it.
And she just put her arms around me.
I appreciate you maintaining your connection with her until she closed her eyes.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. You don't find them like her now.
Yeah.
Because she cared about who you was as a person.
Yeah.
And now they can't get something out of you.
Yeah.
But she cared for you as a person.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing your mother with me because a lot of
definitely.
guys don't do that.
Most definitely.
I was born and raised in Machipongo in what they call a 4-room house. Upstairs, downstairs, 2 rooms upstairs, 2 rooms downstairs. Had an old buck stove, wood stove. On a farm, my grandfather, we lived with my grandfather. My mother had me when she was young. Had my sister first. She was young. Then I came along. We stayed with them. My sister and her slept upstairs. My grandfather and grandmother slept on one side. They slept on the other side. I slept downstairs. And most of the time, people don't like to hear stuff, but I slept on the floor. We didn't have no bed. Not at that time. Couldn't afford it. And
you slept on the floor,
yes.
or everybody in the house slept on the floor?
No, they had cots with a bed. They had cots. My grandfather and grandmother had a bigger cot, and my mother and sister had a little smaller cot that they slept on upstairs.
Wow.
And I slept on the floor with covering on the floor. And another reason I slept there, it wasn't no room upstairs anyway, but I kept the stoves going. The old buck stove downstairs, that was my job, to keep the stoves going in the wintertime. And anytime, and people don't like to hear stuff like this, anytime the buckets got full, because the ladies used the buckets.
Slop job.
Yeah.
It's Black History Month. Y'all don't even know what a slop job is. If you know what a slop job is, put it in the comment section. I know what y'all talking about.
Yeah, and for a long time, it didn't have no lid on it. So you can imagine, it was my job to keep it going outside, because you didn't have ladies on and everything like that. And I was supposed to keep the wood in the stove, keep that when the winter time was warm. And sometimes the windows, you heist the windows, they call it. You heist the windows up. And you had everything in there, bees, flies, everything in there. So grew up there and worked on the farm. That's all it was at that time. And you worked for your eating. And if you didn't work, you might not eat that night.
Wow.
My grandfather was strict. He was a good guy, but he was strict. And I went to work every day. The little fella coming up, we went to the cucumber field. They had potatoes, sweet potatoes, white potatoes, corn. Corn was big back then. And one of the things I did was when they drove the bucket down side the field, you shut the corn, throw the corn on back, and carry it on out. Cucumber, same thing. They had bags back then.
I remember the bags.
Had bags back then.
Yeah.
You would set the bags on the turning row, and the bigger you got, you set them on the truck. The truck's going down. Tomatoes was big back then. So he had, the guy had all kind of stuff, produce. And so I stayed in the field. And sometimes you didn't go to school. It was what it was. If he needed you, Charles Jane got to stay home today. But then grandfather, Al Roller, Charles Jane can't go to school today. Got to get the stuff in. We lived on his farm, so you did what he said do.
And so there were days, and I've heard stories about this, but there were days where you literally got up thinking you were going to go to school. It may made plans with your friends. I'll see y'all tomorrow. We're going to play on the playground or whatever. And get up next morning or come home that evening and you got to go in the field next day.
Automatic. Well, then you said, because we lived in his house. And I was going. We had nowhere to go. Had to. You know, and it was part of living, part of life at that time. You know? And my mother, she worked on the farm. My grandmother worked on the farm, and my grandfather. My sister she was sickly. She was born sickly. So she kind of stayed. Back then, we had one person, an older person, would stay home with the other kids. And they would keep the kids. But all of us would go to the field, like that. And she didn't go to work with us much because she was kind of sickly. And but me, I went. You was a boy. These boys today don't do nothing. Mm-hmm. Oh God!
So you was working at 4 and 5, 6, 7 years old.
Oh yeah, for I can remember. I was in the field working every day, and the only time you didn't work was on a Sunday, and if all depends like the weather we just had. And I used to help with the cows and the pigs and stuff like that. Like you raised that, I used to help with that stuff. You would go out there help them out there, cold, rain, whatever.
So how did you get from missing school? I need y'all to hear this now. You miss school sometimes to work because you lived on another man's farm. Mm-hmm. We'll say it that way for the respect of the era we're living in. But you were able to get off the Eastern Shore, get a college education, come back and become a professional. How in the world did you do it?
All right. Number one was my grandfather and grandmother couldn't read or write. And as I was growing up, I did a lot of it for them. I remember going and we went to the store once a week. We went to the Colonial store at Cape Charles once a week. Or you went to Eastfield. Eastfield was booming then with stores. And my grandmother would say, Charles Jane, here's what I need. She had a can. She would show it to me. I need this out the store. You know, I said, okay. Went in the store, she gave me the money, paid for it, come on out. Whereas I got older and I was going to the store for her, I would see canned stuff was cheaper. And I get it. She said, no. That's not what I want. I said, but Grandma, this is the same thing, but it's cheaper. It ain't the same thing. It's not the same thing. This is what I want. She wanted the can that she had. That's what she knew.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to the store, change it, come back like that. And so it pushed me. My grandfather, I did a lot of signing for him. He would take me to Eastville with him, and he would tell me, he said, look, I need you to sign this document for me. Read it first before you do it. So I'd read it. I was a little fellow. Read it. I said, okay. And then and the other persuasion would say, did that boy know what he reading? And my grandfather said, yes, my grandson know what he read.
Did you know what you were reading?
Yeah, at that time.
Okay.
Because I had done it before.
Okay.
I had done it before. And just a simple document and everything. And he said, okay, he can sign his name? My grandfather, yeah, he can sign his name. Okay, let him sign your name and sign his under. Like that. I'll do it for him like that. And when I went to school, they had the old yellow National Geographics. National Geographic yellow. And I would get them. Because they were throwing them, I'd get them. And I would just read them. Just read them. National Geographic. They would ask me, and they would talk about stuff. I said, I've been there before. They said, how you been to Italy? Where you been there? I said, I've been there before. I said, how? In the book. I've been in the book. They look at me and say, yeah, here's the book right here. I've been teachers. I say, wow. I said, I've been there. So it pushed me to read, to write, and just to understand. It pushed me to do that because I did a lot for them. Mm-hmm. You know, and my mother could read and write. She could read, but she did a lot. And so she helped me a lot too. She helped me a lot. She went forward to 8th grade, as far as she went, because she had my sister and everything. And then she had to go to work, then I came along.
So it's safe to say that God was preparing you for your present profession of the call to ministry and the teaching career that you've had, of how you started out early. But now we're still waiting to get to the point of how you got from missing school to work on the farm, reading and writing for your grandparents because they weren't unable to do it. Because you got to understand now, the times that his grandparents, my grandparents, come along, I remember old people talking about they would sign a name with an X.
Yep, that's all you did.
And my grandfather could sign his name. My grandmother, I don't know whether she could or not. I never really saw her do a whole lot. Mm-hmm. I think she could, but their reading and writing was not there. My grandfather would keep his foreman that worked on the farm with cam, like you were with your grandfather, with cam, or my mother. So you're telling the truth. A lot of those older persons, all they did was work.
That's all. That's all it is.
With their hands.
That's it. Rain or shine.
So you're moving up the ladder through school, and now you're in middle school, high school. What helped you get to be able to go to St. Paul's College?
The various teachers that we had back then, they were very helpful, because they would see something in you, and they would push you to do better. We had teachers back then that would push you to do better. Lady named Miss Bond, and I was in the middle school. Push you to read, push you to study. You know, she would come and say, homework, where's your homework? You know, Miss Bragg, had Miss Bragg back in the day. She pushed you to read. Reading was big back then. And they would make you stand in front of the class. Get up in front of the class. Let's go, read. And you had to read it. And they'd already read it. And then they'd go right down the aisle, read. You know, writing, can you write? And cursive writing was big.
Yeah.
Cursive. Not just print.
Yeah.
It was cursive.
Yeah. You know? I remember that. I had to write your letters in cursive. Didn't have the right words. Yep. And trace them out on that gray paper with that red and blue line on there.
Yep. And then see what really happened, you know, I got, you know, playing sports. And I said, I like this. Cause you know what? I ain't gotta go to work. You know, so football came along. So back then, the elementary school would play each other. We had elementary school teams to play each other. So I found football was something I could really do. You know, and I was decent at basketball, but football. And so I started playing football. But my grandfather said, hey, you might play, but you're gonna make up that work that you missed. So I said, okay. So I got, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna excel at football, athletics, get me out of all this work, man, because this job was getting to be something. And so sports got me a lot of places. I went to a lot of things. They carried me with them. These coaches carried me with them and everything. And I saw stuff. I said, man, I'd like to go somewhere like this one time. You know, the one coach I had, Luther Turner, he's dead and gone there. He had a Trans Am. Oh my God, you'd have loved it. She was nice. She was nice. Back then, we'd go about 80, 75. Man, he put us in there.
That was fast back then.
Oh my God, he would hit her, boy. She would hit her. He said, and he talked like, you guys can have something like this, but you got to excel in something. You got to excel in something. And so I took all that in, you know. And so I excelled in football and got playing. In high school, same thing, excelled in football. And Luther Turner said, I know the coach at St. Paul's. He said, have you thought about college? I said, no, I thought about just going to work, to get a job. He said, no, you can play football. Coach Washington, dead and gone now. He was coaching in Northampton then, before he went to Nandua. He said, we're going to pick you up and carry you. Because my mother said, how you get down there? I'm going to work. You know, we had moved then from here to church. And so they said, I'm going to pick you up. He came to that old red Trans Am. You know how big Washington was. He sat on the side, couldn't even fit in the car. I'm sitting in the back. And they carried me to St. Paul's College. I met the coach out there.
You rode, wait a minute, let's back up. You rode 3 hours. St. Paul's College is 3 hours from this church. You sat in the back of a Trans Am.
Yes, sir.
All the way to Lawrenceville.
Yes, sir. The only way we had to go out there.
It's the one that you're not able to walk right now.
Yes, sir. And he was hitting all the way out there too, boy. He was hitting them. Got on there on that interstate, he was hitting them too, boy. Yes, sir. Went all the way out there, met the coach. They talked to him. And then it came about the money. You know, I ain't know nothing about that kind of stuff. You need money to go. Dang, I thought it was like school. And he said, well, we got a little bit of money for folks up the Eastern Shore. I ain't know nothing about that. That's okay. And so they worked it out. I got a piece of money from that. Then I had work study. And they said, well, where you want to work at? I said, I want to work in the library. Everybody looked at me like, what? Yeah, I want to work in the library. You know, I'm just trying to get my work done, keep doing what I'm doing. And then, you know, other people going to be in the library to help you. You know, because, you know, when you play in college football, they got a schedule that you got to keep. And you certain things you gotta do, gotta have done.
Yeah.
So they gave me work study. So I had work study in the library, so I would get my work done and still do my workout stuff for football. Then they gave me another piece of work study in the athletic department, in the gym and stuff. So I went down there and mopped the floor down there and did all the stuff down there with the janitors down there. So I got enough money to stay in school.
4 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what made it so bad, when the check would come, you think you got a check up there, right?
Yeah.
No. Come sign this check over. I said, really?
Yeah.
Sign it. Get it back over. But I got 4 years, played 4 years of football, and worked my way through. Yeah.
And then moved back home and you worked. I've heard you tell this story. Before you started teaching, you worked for Northam Growers.
Yep. Because and at the end, you had these dreams about playing professional football.
You wanted to play pro?
Yeah. And see, at that time, the Redskins had a camp in Richmond. But what happened was, even when I think about it, it was just God said it wasn't right. I got hurt in summer practice, which was my fault because when I played outside linebacker and the player was coming toward me, I messed around with the guard too long and the guy hit me, where it messed my mouth up. So I couldn't practice. So, and they told me, said, well, you'll be able to practice, but I had to have a special piece in my mouth to bite down on. And so I did. During the season, my knee got messing with me, had fluid on it. Man. So I dealt with that, made it through the season, and then they had these tryouts, but my knee would never go down. Never would go down.
So you was going to try for the Redskins?
I actually went to the camp, but I couldn't do anything. I went to the camp, but I couldn't do anything. It just wasn't in the cards for me. So I came back, and the coach said, well, you going to graduate? I said, I'm going back home. So I can't stay out here. I'm just going back home and find a job. I got a degree, and that's what I did. I came here, did my first job, and I came back, and I started living with my parents, and I said, this is not going to work. And you know how it is. You've been in college 4 years, been on your own.
Now you're back under rules and regulations.
No, this is not going to work. So I got a job. It's in Cape Charles. It was a soda plant, but it's Budweiser now. Mm-hmm. So I started working there. And then my cousins were working at Northam Growers. They said, man, so why don't you come work at night and make some extra money? I said, okay. So I started working at night, making some extra money there. And the lady that owned the place said, well, do you want a regular job? So you'll make double what you're making down to the soda plant. I said, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. So I worked at the soda plant for that about a year. And then I started working there and stayed there, 14, 15 years, working at Northam Growers.
You stayed at Northam Growers 14 years out of college before you started. And so that's how come you know so much about the farmers and the string beans and the squash and the cucumbers, because you were loading the truck, you were getting it in, and all of that.
And then I had to get CDLs back then because then I had to drive truck because one of our guys got messed up. He couldn't drive. We used to go to Suffolk and pick beans up, and so it was a run. And I said, well, I can find Suffolk, no problem. Bowers Hill. I said, that's good. So I started doing.
That's the way you went to school.
Yeah, I started to do that. So I drove a 6-wheel truck. Got up early in the morning, like 4 o'clock in the morning. Had to be there by 6 when they started picking the beans. Get a load, bring it on back. And if I had enough time, I could make 2 trips. Well, that got me out of being at Northam Growers all day long.
Yeah.
I'm on the road, And then when they stopped that, I started doing the fertilizer. Mm-hmm. At that time, and you're a farmer, they had these booms. Yeah. And you go down the field with the booms. Yeah. I learned how to do that. So they say, well, you want to do that? I said, yeah, I'll do it. Had a tractor, had the booms, I did it by myself. Had to do it. And time goes by, man. Time goes by. Here's what happened. My pastor, Reverend Rucker, W.C. Rucker, I had gotten out of church, but I wasn't going. And he came by Northam Growers. He said, hey, your mama coming to church. She singing on the choir. Your grandmother coming. I said, why don't you come on back to church? I ain't seen you in a long time. Because when I came up, we went to church on Sunday, man. You were going. And it was a lot of us.
You got older, you got out of it.
It was a lot of us when I came up, man. A lot of us going to Union Baptist Church. And so I said, okay. So I went one Sunday, I said, I sat in the back. I never forget it. Sat in the back so you could easily get out.
Yeah.
You know, I had an old piece of car. I got an old piece of car. And he saw me sitting in the back, so I got up before he said something. The next Sunday that I was sitting in the back, he said, don't go nowhere. I want to see you before you leave, like that. I said, okay. He said, you got a college degree, right? I said, yeah, yes, sir. He said, okay, I want you to teach Sunday school. I said, what? Teach Sunday school? I ain't never taught no Sunday. What? Nothing about that. I ain't had a book. He said, here's the book, study the book. You can see Sunday school next Sunday. Just out the blue. I said, man. And you know, back then, church, people going to church back then. And they went to Sunday school. I said, man, so that Sunday came there, and he said, y'all know Charles James. It's Arethia's son, Liza May's grandson. Al Rose said, he gonna teach Sunday school. Everybody looking, you them old deacons.
Yeah.
Why? Why he gonna teach it? Why he gonna teach it? Who is this guy? And so my grandmother was sick. She should sit back there. My grandmother said, that's my grandson. He can read and write. He can do just as good as you. She was something. My grandmother, she was something, but she was feisty. My mother, she never said nothing. And so I went up there, and I taught it the best way I could teach it, you know. And everybody was sitting there like, wow, okay, all right.
Were you scared?
Yeah, you know about that stuff. All the old people sitting there, man, looking at me. They ain't know about that stuff, man. You know, but I got through it. And then I said, it's all right, you know. And so the mother said, okay, well, you want to do it again? Yeah, I'll do it again. So the old deacon that did it, he didn't want me to do it. Messing him with, you know, deacons used to do that stuff back then.
Yeah.
So he said, no, I got it next Sunday. I said, okay, find me. I sat in the back. And so the next Sunday, he wasn't there. He was doing something that had me do it again. And so that's when I started doing Sunday school. Then I started hanging out with Reverend Rucker. He said, look, he had the gout. Remember, he had the gout real bad. So I started driving him. They wanted to drive him. He was, you know, him and Reverend Mapp and all of them, Wilson, all of them.
Wilson, St. Cloud.
They'd be everywhere. They'd be everywhere.
Yeah.
And so Rucker had a van.
That van.
So I started driving the van for him.
I remember that van.
My
I rode
God.
that van.
Boy, them preachers, you heard something. Boy.
Yeah.
I was driving the van. I loved it, though. Because they, you know, Holy Trinity preacher.
Clifford.
Oh, my God. You talking about somebody talk to you. All them guys, man. I'd pick them all up, and they would go to the conferences and everything like that. And I would just sit and wait for them and listen to them and everything. And that's where it got embedded in me about this preaching thing. You know? But I never did pay no attention. Paying attention.
You didn't realize God was calling you. God was saying, you know what's funny, and I need y'all to understand, the calling on one's life starts early. Mm-hmm. God starts preparing you. You almost sound like a movie because when you were a child, you were reading different books about different places. The Bible is a book about different places and what happened. And so now God has moved you. And now you're teaching school and you're moving up the ladder as a deacon. And let's talk about that.
All right. So he had me about school. So I'm like, so listen. So he said, you working around that North End Grove, they need substitutes. Mm-hmm. Do you know how much substitutes master? No. At that time, substitutes made like $50 to $75. I said, huh? I said, what, a week? He said, no, a day. I said, a day? I wasn't making but like $140 a week at North End Grove. After taxes, $130 to take home. I said, you get $75 a day? He said, you got a degree? I said, yeah. So he said, go to the central office and fill the paperwork out. And at my lunchtime, I went up there. Well, Dr. Ashby saw me. Dr. Ashby said, didn't you play football here at Northampton? I said, yes, sir. I said, okay, so you got a college degree? So he said, give me your paperwork. I gave the paperwork. He said, yeah, you got a college degree. I said, okay. So you want to sub? I said, I want to sub as best I can. He said, okay. The next day, that night, that afternoon, they called me. Said, we need a sub tomorrow. Can you sub? So I you know, and I hate to say it in front of all y'all folks, I got coughing. I got coughing. I can't come in today, I got coughing. I went, you know, you dressed modelly, and went in. They gave me a classroom. I said, this is all right. You know, I'm out the weather.
Yeah.
I can do this. You know, the teachers left the plans there. You know, I was at elementary school at first. Then they moved to the middle school. Just subbing every now and then. I was still working off in the Grove. It's all right. Well, and the more I think about it, number God, the lady that owned the place, she sold the place, sold to a guy. Mm-hmm. So he said, hey, Charles, look, you miss a lot of time in there. You got to make your mind up what's going on here. I said, I kind of made my mind up. I said, I'm going to work till the summer, and then school will be out, and I can start September, subbing all the time. But I can still work during the summer at North End Road to make that. And so by that time, it happened. August came, and I'll never forget it. They asked me about help coaching football. I said, yeah. He said, it's a stipend go along with it. I said, is it? I said, all right. So I went and started helping coach football. That offset North End Roads. And then they started calling for subbing. I subbed every day. Every day. Didn't miss a day. When it came along, the guy that was doing special education, he quit. Walked out the class, left it. It was a special needs class. Brain injured kids, like that. So they said, you got a degree. Said, listen, we want to put you on contract to take this class. I said, take the class. So yeah. The salary was like $33,000 at that time. $33,000.
You had never seen it before.
At North End Grove. I said, oh my God. I said, yes, I want it. Knew nothing about no special ed class, knew nothing about no classroom. These were brain injured kids, severe disability. Some of them couldn't talk. They had wheelchair bound in there. It was about 7 kids that were different.
And you had a teacher assistant?
No, at that time I didn't. Had a lady come in and out. Because she did 3 classes at a time. She come in and out, but I was in there by myself. Didn't know nothing about it. But I knew one thing, they were children. They were children like everybody's children. But they were just special children, unique children. And that's how I taught, that's how I did the class. You had to do everything for them. You had to tie the shoes for them. You had to make sure they go to the bathroom, And the one kid, he would have fits, because he was injured as a child, so his brain never developed. So sometimes he would have fits, and you had to just hold him while he had fits, while other kids sit there. And so I did that for 5 years in that classroom. They moved me from Alcoholic. I started at Alcoholic, and they didn't move me to the middle school with that same class, but they got older. And when they get older, you got to move with them, like that. And then that's when they approached me about doing truancy, stuff like that,
God has blessed you. And so let's fast forward to going to New Mount Zion. You've been called to preach, you've been licensed, you started preaching here and there. I remember you coming to Holy Trinity, preaching. And now
you used to get me to come there.
Yeah.
You was
and now you pastored Mount Zion. Let's talk about ministry.
Okay.
You've been in church all your life. You've seen the church change probably a half a dozen times. Where are we now as a church in the rural? You've been pastoring this. Dr. Kellam's been pastoring 25 years. He's got 1 year up on me. What's going on in the black church on this as it relates to the rural area?
We think we have arrived. God has blessed us. We don't have to do what we used to do to survive there. So we think we've arrived. And we've forgotten it was the church that helped many of us get where we are.
That's true.
The church gave us inspiration. The church helped us in days that we couldn't help ourselves. I remember W.C. Rucker going in his pocket and giving us money to help us. I remember some of the old officers there, helping us with money and everything. Certain people in church, the church did that.
How has it changed? Because I know for me, I started in 2002, you started 2001. I know it has changed just with the technology that we're having to use.
Oh my God.
Having to learn how to speak to the people in the pew and to the people on the camera. Yeah. How has it changed for you since you started pastoring 25 years ago compared to now?
With little or no mic, Dominic could attest to that. And most times you're throwing your voice, you leave hoarse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't remember how many Sundays we went home? I can remember calling Isaac Jenkins, who's now resting with the Lord, on a Sunday night about 10 o'clock, I couldn't talk. And I'd say, Jenkins, I tried to squall like you today, and I don't know what's wrong. I can't get right. And he would say, well, you gotta, some kind of way you'd have to work on your throat and exercise your throat and get your throat accustomed to preaching like that, until now where it don't even bother us.
No bothers.
And that's why I tell people a lot of times, I don't fuss about the microphone.
That's right.
Because we learned how to preach off Radio Shack mic.
There you go. There you go.
All of this that we have now,
Well, no.
we didn't have that then.
No.
And so now when I go somewhere and they don't have what I'm accustomed to, I go on and preach my normal way
ain't worry about
because
it. Yep.
I didn't start out with this.
Nope.
So the church has changed. People have changed. What do we as pastors do now who are 25 years, you say, career pastors? How do we, and what would you say to pastors who were sitting here in the room that's been pastoring 25 years, struggling with what they see, struggling to meet the needs of the church, struggling to get them to see Christ? What do you say to them?
You say, keep doing what you've been doing to get you here. Don't ever forget why you're doing this. This is a calling. And you never know where the calling is going to carry you. You don't know what the calling is going to do for you while you're in the calling. So you might not have 10 people in the church, okay? Preach like you got 50. That's what you're called to do. We as preachers and pastors, we can never forget our calling.
Do you think we've gotten caught up in the hype?
Oh yeah, big time. Big time. See, one of the things that has messed some of us up, we look at TV and we see these guys with these cathedrals and everything like that. But don't they know, and Dominic can tell you best, it's only shots they want you to see. They don't show you the shots that's not full. They show you the little piece here, and they say, oh man, I like to have that. It's not meant for all of us.
Yeah. Dr. Patricia Gould-Champ, who taught you in seminary and taught me, she used to tell us in seminary, all of y'all are not going to be mega pastors.
There you go.
And I think one of the things that have kept, you and I both have had opportunities to leave the Eastern Shore. We've had churches to be interested in us, and for whatever reason, we did not go. I think sometimes we get caught up in wanting greater, which ain't nothing wrong with that, but failing to realize to whom much is given, much is required. And sometimes I wonder whether we are ready to handle the what's required part. We can handle the greater, the given, but it's a lot to be required.
A lot. I mean, you talk about something, and you being the president of the Baptist General Convention, you know firsthand some of these churches, what they command of you.
That's right.
And, you know, sometimes they want you when they want you there all the time.
I have some friends that pastor large churches. I've preached for them, privileged to preach for them every year, different intervals, and it's a requirement that they have certain hours in their office every week. The freedom that you have to teach school, to coach, the freedom I have to farm and run businesses, you could not do that pastoring those churches. And now, you got to understand, too, and we'll talk about this, the pay scale is different.
Oh, totally different. Yeah, totally
The Eastern Shore and the rural area has not always been able to do even what they do for us now.
That's right.
Which a lot of people bark against it. But what they do for us now in comparison, even when we started, it's different. And I think you and I, we think alike on some things. I've grown to be thankful for what I do get.
That's right.
Because I could be worse off.
That's right.
And I try to think about what my people are going through in their own personal lives.
There you go. There you go.
I want you to pay your tithe to keep this church afloat. I want you to pay your offerings to keep Mount Zion and Ebenezer going.
That's right.
But I can't be so stuck on myself that I want it all for me.
That's right.
Because I want certain things to take place in here.
Yeah. Yeah. And another part, suppose your parishioner needs something.
You don't have it to give them.
You know?
Yeah.
You want to be able to say, hey, okay, we can help you with your light bill.
Yeah.
Or you need some gas, we can help you with your gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have no gas at home to cook, okay, we can get the guy come down for your gas tanker.
Yeah.
You want that to be able to say, hey, the church can help you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And a lot of you guys don't get that. They want, but wait a minute. Is that the way Jesus did it, though?
Yeah.
He always looked out for the others before he looked out for himself.
Yeah.
And so we got to understand that piece of it, too.
Where do you see the church in the rural? And I keep saying rural because Charles Kellam and no I have ever pastored anywhere else other than in the country.
Yeah.
Where do you see the rural church in 10 years?
I think we're in danger because, and don't get me wrong, that's a good tool. It's a good tool. But when COVID came in and we had to depend on that to help us, now some of them have taken it as a crutch. I ain't got to go to church. I ain't got to be in the building. I can sit at home. You know, and in doing that, now when you stay home, you say, well, since I ain't got to go there, I don't have to care about tithes and offerings. Not understanding what we just talked about, the church sustains itself and other people that might not be like you.
From tithes and offerings.
There you go. And so you ain't coming, but you're getting something out of the service. Mm-hmm. Something you may say may help them. How Pastor Bunting know that? Mm-hmm. But you're not coming to give us back, give the church back, not us, to give the church back.
Was the pandemic the hardest time for your pastorate?
It really was. It really was because, as you know, man, that changed everything. Preaching outside. Yeah. You know, you and I.
I remember preaching for you. And I think you might have preached for me. Yep. We preached for each other. Yep. I think we did it a couple times. Yep.
Did the homecoming service. We still
homecoming service outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
funerals, remember?
Funerals. I did something.
You did one raining. I was here when you did that one raining.
Yeah.
Yeah, outside, man.
Yeah.
You know?
And the pandemic has changed us. And I want y'all to understand something about this friendship that we have. We are persons that bounce ideas off each other. Because we not only work together in ministry, but we work together at the funeral home. And so a lot of times we'll slide in the hearse together just to chop it up, talk about stuff. If Keith Watts don't get in the way. And so, Charles, you and I have seen a lot of changes. But let's talk about outside of the church. Let's talk about the Eastern Shore. You were raised doing Jim Crow segregation. Oh, yeah. You remember going to the restaurants, getting your food out the back door.
Oh, yeah. A hand would come out. What you want, boy? You tell him, all right, where your money? Take your money before you get your food. When you get your food back, you might get anything back. Close the thing on you. Boom. My grandfather standing there looking. Come on, bud. So you know me, granddaddy, this ain't right. He, shut up, boy. Come on, let's go. Hey, man, you know.
So are you telling me they might, if you ordered a hamburger, they might give you whatever they wanted to give you?
Whatever, it might look like anything.
And did it
had to go around back.
Did it give you a change?
No, change your mind. Give you nothing. Slam that thing
Charles Kellam, are you telling me that in the 60s that you get them a $10 bill and they owed you $3.25, you may or may not get that back?
May not get it back. And see, my grandfather, a lot of people didn't know it, he carried something in his back pocket. So he had to stay calm. He had to stay calm. And he said, come on, Bert, let's go. And I said, what a change. Don't worry about it, Bert. Come on, let's go. Let's go. I'm looking like, wait, man, what's going on here? And you had to go around back. You ain't go inside.
A lot of the establishments that we eat to right now, the Expo Donna, the Owl Restaurant, all of that.
Yep. And right, what's one called over here?
Trawler.
Yeah.
When that was up and established.
Yeah, you go around back. You ain't going to them places. You better not go to them places.
I used to ask my mother this, and she said, I would ask her, I said, well, why did y'all go eat there? Did y'all trust it? She said, yes, we trusted the cooking because we knew the blacks was in there cooking.
They were cooking. They was the one cooking. You had no problem about it. Food was good. Food was good. But if you, and it was the later years, they let you start coming in there and ordering, stand there and wait for your food, then go back out. You wouldn't sit at that counter. No, don't sit, you can sit at no counter.
Did they have sit-ins on the shore?
Yeah. Yeah, they had one right out here to the diner.
Black students, black young people.
What is the lady's name? She was a preacher out of Bethel.
Reverend Trial.
Her son, he led one. I remember it. Yes, he led one. Right then, you know.
At the ex-Madonna.
Yeah, he led it.
Did they lock him up?
They came and got him out of there. Now, I don't know the other part of it, but I do know he led it. They came and got him out of there. Him and some more high school students. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Her son. He was a big-time football player, running back.
And so you lived through some turbulent times.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and my grandfather, like I said, I used to sign documents, and we would go to Eastfield. He said, he used to call me Bud. He said, Bud, stay away from Eastfield. So Eastfield's not good for a black man to be around Eastfield too much. Stay away from it. He said, and look, if you see one of them coming, go on the other side, walk on the other side. Don't look at them. Don't look at them.
And so when we say about how far we've come, we've truly come a long way.
And that's why our young people today don't understand, man. When I see young people walking around with their pants hung down and they won't groom themselves and everything, y'all don't know what we done been through to get you here where you are. You don't have a clue. When I see these guys on the TV flashing all this money and everything like that, I say, man, you guys don't even know. Some people would never see that kind of money.
In a lifetime.
Never. Some people I know had just change. Never had green dollars. Change. All they had was change. You know. And the church is at a point now where we don't want to come because now all of a sudden now we done got what do y'all got going on? Who y'all got there? What kind of music you got there? Hey, we used to have nothing but a piano in the corner that somebody would pack it on. And the church used to be full. Full, but now, you got to know what we got. Who's singing? Who preaching? Does it make a difference?
Yeah.
The church has been a staple.
Or when the pastor's not there, they'll get up and leave.
Yeah. Yeah. You know.
And so, as we bring this conversation to a close, you've been very successful and God has truly blessed you.
Yeah.
You've got 2 great children. You've got grandchildren. I'm going to ask you the closing question, and I pray y'all have been blessed by this. Type it in the comment section if this has blessed you. I'm going to ask you the question I ask every person I interview. Young person come up to you and say, Reverend Kellam, Coach Kellam, Mr. Kellam, I see you now working and pastoring and got a nice truck. I want to be like you one day. I want to do what you do. I want to be just like you. What do you say to them?
I tell them you have to go through a lot. You got to be humble. You can't say what you want to say all the time. And you always got to be looking forward. Looking forward. What's down the road? What's down the road? I remember you saying something one time years ago, and you said that no matter what happens, you're always looking that way.
Yeah.
That way. I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always been.
Yeah.
I've always been looking forward.
Yeah.
And whatever's happened in life, look forward.
And let me share with you, because he's my friend. I don't have very many. My friend list is very short. When you start out pastoring, you start out, and Charles can attest to this because we both have run in the same circles. You start out with a long litany, and use Percy James' word, our friend Percy James, long litany of friends. But the older you get, the more you learn people, the more you learn about people, the more you learn people's spirits. Mm-hmm. You become more to yourself. Mm-hmm. So now I got 2 hands. Charles has 2 hands. But I only need one to count real friendship, and I don't need all 5 fingers.
That's right.
But one thing I can say about Charles Kellam, I've never seen him worry. I've never seen him let church get him down. I've never seen him allow the struggles of life's journeys Because you don't stay in ministry 25 years and not go through something.
Yeah, right.
You don't stay in a school system and work up the ranks like Charles has done and not go through something.
27 years.
27 years teaching school, 25 years pastoring. I've never seen him let something worry him. If it was, he didn't show it. And so, Charles, I want to thank you for being an inspiration to so many of us. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for allowing me to interview on a Sunday night.
Yes, sir.
This has been rich, and I pray that this personal testimony, because I ain't gonna tell his age, he can tell that for himself, I ain't gonna tell his age, but he's been around a long time. He started out and he worked himself up, and underline the word work, and that's my closing statement tonight.
And let me say this before we close. And I want to tell folks, it's something he just said is really true. We found a friend, and he's my friend. You hold on to him. This guy, when COVID came and school was out, and he said, hey, man,
You gotta tell that
what are you
story.
doing? I got to tell it. He said, what are you doing? I said, I ain't doing nothing. He said, come on, work on the farm with me. I said, yeah, okay. Him and I worked on the farm, and one of the best times I had, him and I working together on that farm, because it carried me back to my childhood. Yeah. That's what I did. Yeah. You know, and I'm saying this comes full circle. Yeah. This is how I started. Yeah. Dealing with pigs and all the stuff we did on the farm, it was good. So I say, when you find a friend, hold on to your friend. Yeah, y'all not gonna see eye to eye on everything, so what? But don't let your friend go, because in the end, that's all you have.
That's all you have, and you don't have many.
He ain't got many.
You don't have many. People, you know? I've watched people come in your life and mine, and we would be together, and now we're just as separate as if we were never together. Mm-hmm. And I give God praise that God has allowed me to see the true identity of people who probably was just like that in the onset, but did not show it.
Right.
This has been a very, very rich episode of Ebenezer Talks. This is my installment for Black History Month. I wanted to pick someone who was from the Eastern Shore, who knew and had been through and had seen the quote unquote lightning flash, thunder roll. And so, Dr. Kellam, thank you so much. New Mount Zion Baptist Church. And we give God praise and we pray God's blessings upon you, upon your ministry, and what the Lord is going to do for you.
I want to thank Dominic. Thank you, Dominic, because he's been a friend to me. I call him anytime. Yeah. Anytime.
Yeah.
Hey, Doc, I got you.
Yeah.
Doc, I got you.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you being my friend, too. Anytime.
He'll give you a Gatorade tonight.
Yeah, no problem.
Listen, this has been another episode of When Ebenezer Talks. I'm Pastor Bunting, your host. Thank you, God bless you, and good night.